Good morning, purple and teal dragons. This week, we are on week 6. We are starting a brand new topic. We are now on topic 14, which has to do with 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional shapes. So for these first couple of lessons this week, we are going to be focusing on 2-dimensional or flat shapes. So these are things that do not have any kind of dimension to them. So if we think of like a soccer balls are 3D. They are round, they have, space inside. But if we draw a circle, that's just flat on our page. Now, this topic is probably one of the more important topics for vocabulary, because there's going to be a couple words that are going to come up throughout this topic that you need to know and understand to help you describe your shapes, to build your shapes, to draw shapes, and eventually switch over to our 3D shapes. So right now we're going to kind of glance over this anchor chart. So it shows us a few different shapes, and then it talks about sides, vertices, and it doesn't show it here, but we're going to talk about if a shape is open or if it is closed. So before we start looking at our different shapes, we are going to define these words. So some shapes are going to have different types of sides. These sides might be straight, like a line, and these sides can also be kind of curvy, like a circle, or kind of a wiggle. But what is a side? Most important is a side is a line that connects two vertices. A line that connects two vertices. So think of connect the dots in a way. But we need to know what this word vertices means to understand our sides. So some shapes, again, they might have vertices, they might not. A vertice is a point or dot where two sides meet. If we have two different lines, they're going to meet up at that point. And our last two words are kind of linked together. We have open shape versus closed shape. So an open shape means that not all the sides are connected. There's a gap, there's a hole in that shape. They don't all touch together. So that's open. It's got a hole, it's open. But if that shape is closed, that means all the sides are connected. No holes or gaps. It's complete. So open means that there are holes or gaps. Closed means everything's connected. There are not any holes. So these are some words I want us to keep in mind. I'm going to be using them many times in this video, okay? And I'll go over them. So now let's go back to our shapes. And we're going to kind of focus one shape at a time. So first we're going to think about squares. And we want to stop and think, well, how many sides do our squares have? Well, if we count the number of lines, we see that we have one, let me annotate, one, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 lines. So that means that this shape has 4 sides. And what's special about a square is that all these sides are going to be the same length. So if we used our rulers or our measuring techniques that we learned in topic 12, we would find that they are all the same size. Now we want to look at our vertices. So remember, vertices are where the 2 lines meet. So we're looking for kind of like corners almost for our shape. So we're going to find our 2 lines and see if there's a spot that they meet. I'm going to stamp them with a star to show you. So we're going to find line 1, line 2, they move up and they touch right there. Line 1, line 2, they meet and they touch in this corner. If I follow this line down, 1, and the bottom side over, 2, they meet in this corner. And if I follow over here, down and over, we have a 4th corner. So all together we have 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices. And when you're thinking of squares, you might think of TVs sometimes, you might think of certain computers, maybe you think of SpongeBob, or sometimes there's, I can't think of it, certain candy bars that look like squares. But squares have 4 sides and 4 vertices or corners. So I'm gonna erase my stamps for that shape. And we're going to scroll down to our next shape, which is a triangle. So again, we're going to break this down by vertices and sides. And we might notice a pattern soon. So think in your mind if you notice a pattern with sides and vertices. So we're going to look at our triangle. And we want to think first, how many sides does this have? How many lines are in this shape? So we're going to count. We have 1 side, 1 line, 2 sides, 3 sides. I'm going to mark them with a little line. 1, 2, 3. So this shape has 3 sides. Now I want to see how many corners does my shape have. So we're looking where our lines meet. So these 2 lines meet up top at this corner. The side and the bottom meet down here at this corner. And this side and the bottom meet over here in this corner. So all in all, I have 1, 2, 3 corners, 3 places where the lines touch, 3 vertices. So a triangle, tri, means 3 sides, 3 vertices. You might be picturing some pizza, a Christmas tree, maybe the roof of your house, maybe a piece of cake. Who knows? But to see if you can think in your brain of some things that are shaped like triangles. Our next shape is special. And so far, all these shapes have been closed. There are no gaps in these squares or these triangles. Our next shape that we're going to focus on is our circle. So you might think of a paper plate, maybe coasters, maybe you're drawing part of Mickey Mouse's face. But circles are special because they don't really have straight lines in them. It's just one big curvy piece. So circles, really, they don't have any sides because the side should be straight, and it's not. And because there's no sides, there's not really any corners for any part of this circle to meet. It's smooth, it's round, there's no points in our shape. So circles are special because they don't have sides, they have 0 sides and 0 vertices or corners. You might think of a clock, a ball, the sun. Lots of circles, tires on a car, maybe your pet's water bowl, maybe a pie that you're going to eat for dessert. Couple more shapes, guys. Try not to make this too long for you. Rectangles. Rectangles are kind of like squares. Just like a square, they're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. But all these sides aren't the same size like a square. You can tell that the top and the bottom are longer. The sides are shorter, so they're not all equal. They're not all the same. But even though they're not the same, they're still going to meet up at the same amount of corners. So I have 1 corner, 2 corner, 3 corners, 4 corners, which means I have 4 vertices. So even though it looks a little bit different, just like the square, there are 4 sides and 4 vertices. You might be thinking maybe of a door, maybe our American flag, maybe our manipulative table is a rectangle. Maybe some of the things you've played on outside with coach, or on the playground at recess. Lots of rectangles in our world too. I'm thinking of a yummy, yummy lasagna. All right. We are going to skip over the rhombus and the ellipses for now, and we're going to end on the hexagon. Hexagon. So hexagon has a lot more sides than our other shapes. So we're going to draw our lines to find them. So we have 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides, 5 sides, 6 sides. And if you break down that word, hex at the beginning actually means 6. So that tells us a clue for how many sides in our shape. I want us to think before we count these corners. What have we noticed about all these other shapes? Squares have 4 sides, 4 vertices. Triangles have 3 sides, 3 vertices. Circles have 0 sides, 0 vertices. Rectangles have 4 sides, 4 vertices. And even though we didn't look at these ones, you can see rhombus and ellipses, the sides match the vertices. So however many lines you have, that's how many vertices or corners you need to close that shape. If you're missing a vertices, if there were only 5 vertices here and not 6, that shape is going to have a hole. It's going to have a gap, and it's going to be open instead of closed. So to be a closed shape, you need your sides and your vertices to be the same number. So if I was giving you a riddle and I said, I have 4 sides and 3 vertices, am I open or closed? And you can go, okay, 4 sides, 3 vertices, those don't match. So my shape can't close. It has a gap. It's open. And if we double check just to be safe, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vertices in our hexagon. So remember, sides are our lines. They're straight. If it's not straight, if it's curvy, it's not a side. That's 0 sides. Vertices are our corners. That's where 2 lines meet and make a corner. And all shapes, if you want them to be a closed shape, have to have the same number of sides and vertices. If those numbers don't match, there's a gap, there's a hole, it is open. Now you might, for some of your problems, have to draw your own shapes. Okay, you might have to draw them yourself, which isn't too hard. So I'm going to show you just 1 or 2 examples real quick to help you out with that. So let's say I told you I want a shape with 5 sides and 5 vertices. I would say always draw your dots first because you can find out how to connect them, like connect the dots. But if you draw your sides, sometimes it's a little bit hard to picture it. So I'm just going to pick 5 random spots for my vertices, and I'm going to make them stars. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that I've drawn them, I can connect them like connect the dots. So I'm going to start at 1 star, pull it up, this star over here, keep doing that until my shape is finished. And because I connected all of the dots, I don't have any gaps. My vertices and my sides match, and I'm able to make a shape. So you're basically playing connect the dots for these shapes. You might see some that don't give you sides and vertices. They might just give you one or the other. So let's say that they said to do a shape that has more than 7 vertices. So they didn't tell you your sides, but they told you your dots, your corners. So again, I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I can go in between them and connect them. You kind of want to follow. You don't want to just make random lines everywhere. You want to start at one point and follow it around. So even though it's a funky shape, it has 7 corners, and if we count those sides in between our dots, we will find that this actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because if you remember, in order to have a closed shape, the sides and the vertices have to match. Have to match. Now, if you see any that tell you that there's 0 sides, you know automatically you're making a curvy shape. So if I said I want a shape that has 0 sides, if it has no sides, no lines, it can't have a corner. So we know it has 0 vertices. So I might draw a really bad oval. But the point is that this is curvy. There's no really straight lines in here if you drew it well. If we made it, really pretty like that one. There's no straight lines, there's no corners. That is just a circle with 0 sides and 0 vertices. In the next video, we will be talking about defining shapes. So that's where they give you a shape and they want you to figure out what is true about those shapes. What is true about those straight shapes. And there's going to be some things that are important and some things that aren't so important. So we'll talk about that in the next video. But for now, I hope that that was helpful. If you have any questions while you're working on your assignments, just Blooms me, Edsby me, use my Google Voice number, and I will help you out. So I hope you have an awesome day, Purple and Teal Dragons, and good luck with your assignments this week. Bye.